Welcome, Cancer, to your in-depth monthly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for May 2026. Going to share with you, first of all, the big themes of the month ahead, then on screen your event chart as we come into the month, always influential as a backdrop. I'll then go through each of the influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of your energy, work, relationships and finances, which I'll summarize at the end. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. It's a month when we've got two full moons. Moon's very important to your zodiac sign. The second is the blue moon, and it's the first since August 2023. But also at the heart of the month, we have a new moon in the sign of Taurus. Well, after your sign, Cancer, that's pretty well the best new moon of the year because the moon is exalted in the sign of Taurus. And we're going to see a lot of energy developing in the sign of Taurus as the month goes on, which is very much to do with your social dimension. But I'm going to share on the screen now the event chart. As ever, we need to be mindful of your ruler, the moon, and the sun, the two luminaries. There's the sun in the sign of Taurus. House 11 for you can be to do with your long-term plan, your higher motivations. It can be to do with our connections, our network, and also our social friendships. On the other side of the heavens, the moon, although it's in its fall in Scorpio, is for you in the fifth house. So you're being asked with this full moon as you come into the new month, have you got the balance right between what you're really invested in as an individual, which showcases your brilliance and your charisma, or are you being a little bit too availing to your friends? Or are you really clear about that long-term plan? All of these issues could get pushed into the open early in the month. But I just want to share about the moon because before the full moon's forged later on the 1st, she is in a tense right angle to Pluto. If you are in a romantic relationship where there is some politics, some leverage, some sort of power games going on, anything to do with control, that may be something that could come up for you this month. And particularly with the sun later in the month, combining with Uranus, the planet of freedom, in the part of your chart which can be to do with reflection, that may be key later on then. The other thing to take out of this event chart is that Neptune, the planet of dreams, but also illusions, is the most northerly player in the chart. So if you're doing something that really fits your soul purpose, very Neptunian, it's very much in touch with your feelings, it has some kind of inspirational or creative dimension, that could show up brilliantly throughout this month. And you can see that Neptune's actually in a very strong link with the newly arrived Uranus. And that Uranus and also Venus at the start of the month in the 12th house, I think is very much to do with your appreciation and interest in healing, but it can also be a potential desire to withdraw a little bit. And because Venus is in that trine with Pluto, it may mean that if you are connected to someone, and maybe it's a very deep psychological connection rather than a romantic connection, that relationship can take on more importance for you as this month goes on. The other takeout is that Mars, the planet of passion, assertion, in the 10th house, in its home sign of Aries, it's really been pushing you through its journey in Aries to raise your profile, be more visible. But it did meet Neptune first of all, which could have been draining or confusing. Then that tremendous dust up with Saturn, which may have led to some politics around what to do around your work or whether you encounter someone who you felt was using a might is right attitude. So there may have been some challenges, but Mars starts this month in a square with the lovely Jupiter in your sign, exalted in your sign, pushing you through to the end of June to really go for it. So the square between them means if you're very clear on that future plan, that square there can give you a lot of desire to keep going for it at pace. But just be aware with Mars and Jupiter, we can almost feel invincible, and none of us are. So it's important not to overdo it. Also, just one last thing with the event chart at the start of the month, Mercury is in a conjunction with Chiron. So if you're not enjoying your work and you have a chat with someone, perhaps in a recruitment firm, a trusted friend or a relative, or you watch a video online, you could get some very good pointers about how you can perhaps unblock any part of you that may be stopping you truly believing of how well you can do. So that's possible also at the start of the month. So, what about that lunation? So, just to summarize it, it's a flower moon. It is very much perhaps a point in the road when you may need to make some decisions. But also, I think it's a lunation which can throw at choices. And you know, even if choices can be a bit hard to finally decide what to do, it's better than having no choice. So that is possible as you come into the month. What's going to help that future plan is Mercury moving into Taurus on the 3rd. I think that's going to help bring greater clarity. But it does come pretty soon into an immediate square with Pluto. So that potential for politics where you're aligned with the wrong people, whether it's who you work for, whether it's certain friends that soak up a lot of your time, or energetically you might like them, but just energetically it feels a bit heavy because the 11th house is where you need to connect to people who lift you up, who help you sparkle, but also can receive your unique brilliance, the 5th house, without judging it, but in fact cheering it on. So Mercury is going to be intriguing, moving. Then we have that glorious new moon of the 16th, the exalted new moon. So we go from perhaps the most challenging, intense full moon of the year in perhaps the full moon in Capricorn could be argued to be that because that's where the moon is truly detrimented. But in its fall here, probably the second most challenging full moon of the year. And then we have the second best new moon on the 16th. But for you, if you are picking up momentum and gaining more confidence about heading in the direction that's truly right for you, perhaps after a U-turn on the back of that full moon, perhaps after discounting certain options that had been in your thinking, you can start to really pick up pace. And, you know, the sun and the moon in a conjunction, it's essentially a moon cazimi. Sun is pouring radiance into the moon, loves that earthy, sensual, magical Taurus new moon. So if you are with friends and you're celebrating good food, good wine, and just really feel very comforted and secure with them, that's going to be delicious. But it's not the end of the story because although Mercury then moves on the 17th into this 12th house, which could give you, particularly in that conjunction with Uranus, a sudden need to separate psychologically from anything, you know, particularly intellectually that you're not enjoying. But it could also create a brainwave, a way of looking at something completely fresh that maybe you thought about before, but suddenly you can get space around it. Uranus, release it. That can be helpful. But it's the arrival of Mars in Taurus to replace Mercury on the 18th, which is truly exciting for you. Because as Venus moves into your own sign on the 19th, which is wonderful if you want to give yourself a glamorous makeover, she's also moving out of a deeply reflective area for romance. And then from the 19th through to the end of the month, Venus and Mars continue the sextile that they had in week 2, but rather than Venus being in a disguised area, the 12th house, and Mars very much to do with work. I think that's more likely to play out with confidential discussions around your job. I think from the 19th onwards, that social potential or that potential to meet someone or go out on a date is really heightened fabulously well through to the end of the month. What's not to like? Well, it's just that as Mars moves forwards, he does come into a square with Pluto, which, if you recall, that was first of all the moon with the square with Pluto on this side of your chart. but then Mercury, then Mars. But with Mars, it's for the last 10 days. And if there is some politics around what to do with that long-term plan, but the politics could be deep within you, and it may be about this Cancer. It may be letting go of something that brings you an income that you just are not truly invested in. Because Pluto through to 243 initially, then 244, is going to test you psychologically about how you bring money in. So if you're doing something that does create some stability and some practical reassurance, if it's not really feeling right for you, Pluto will keep testing you about that. And because Mars in the 11th house is very much about having a greater confidence to be true to yourself as an individual, but also network and collaborate with other people, that might be the test for you. And because Venus and Mars are in such a sociable vibe, that heavy dimension that could show up at the start of the month and is lingering in the background may be something that you need to take decisive action upon. And with Saturn right at the top of your chart, along with the creative, imaginative Neptune, if work is something that oppresses you, I think for the next 2 years, yes, you can take on more responsibilities. Yes, you can do better. Yes, you can seize a golden prize, but there could be a price if you don't enjoy it. And that's the key. And then that brings us to the Sun moving on the 21st to join up with Mercury, Uranus. Venus has gone, of course, into your sign. But as the Sun comes on to Uranus, that's going to be very, very potent. And over the next 7 years, Uranus will keep asking you to look at your psychological, emotional, and spiritual situation with a fresh pair of eyes. So the Sun coming along and connecting just amplifies that. And of course, the 12th house, delicate as it is in traditional astrology, is known as the sector of secret enemies. But if you put the Sun and Uranus together, that can create sudden separations, sudden moves. And if you really aren't enjoying something, it could become much clearer from the 21st onwards. But I also want to say that Venus, as she's moving forwards, urging you to give yourself a glamorous makeover, I should say, um, nearly gets to the position of Jupiter. You're actually going to go into June really with the potential to just roar into the month. Because if you remember, I think it was about the 8th or 9th of June last year, Jupiter moved into your sign, but immediately ran into heavy traffic in the guise of Saturn. And the exact square was on the 15th. So Jupiter didn't really get off to a good start in your sign. But it's ending its journey in your sign, blessed by the lucky Venus. So the two benefits suggest that early in June, something good's coming your way. So if you do separate from something with that Sun-Uranus conjunction, and then the Sun linking to Mercury, do be philosophical about it, because I feel that having two full moons this month with the blue moon on the 31st in the sign of Sagittarius is very much about work. And that 12th house sun is very much about where you don't feel supported or you feel isolated or it doesn't feed your soul. It's going to come up again. And guess what? Mars is in the mix on that too, forging a quincunx back to the position of the moon in Sagittarius. And of course, the moon in Sagittarius is very much about freedom. So I'm going to summarize those four areas for you next, Cancer. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. Why? Because I know people are feeling the pinch, but also I want to share the love with astrology. So you pay for one, but you get three. You buy your life roadmap report, which helps you to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far, get a more intimate understanding of your identity, that you get the 12 months transits and also your draconic soul karmic chart free. So that's three for the price of one. Please see below for more. Now, if you've yet to watch your Uranus 84-year cycle video, please see that on the screen. Now, I'm going to suggest also, if you've yet to watch your um, Mars Saturn conjunction video, even though the event is past, and the reason for that is I talk about in those videos the 7 year slot. 7, 14, 21, 28. It's about 7.3, 14.6, 21.9, because those are when big things happen in our lives. Saturn is not just about the Saturn return. So do watch that if you've yet to do so already. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to work with me directly, please see my testimonials below. If you've yet to sign up for that free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop, you can do that below too. So to summarize, if you're doing something around your professional situation that's imaginative, it gives you some kind of visibility and self-respect and the respect of others, but also it's in tune with your emotions. Your work situation can continue to go forwards this month. There may be some politics towards the end once the sun moves into the 12th and with that full moon. However, if you're doing something you're not really enjoying and you can't show your charisma, flair, and creativity in a way which informs your future, the flower moon on the 1st of this month is asking you to seriously consider your options. You also have lot of support from Mercury and Mars through your 11th house, which can be to do with friendship. But the month begins with Venus in an isolated area. So if you are mourning a past relationship or feeling nostalgic about someone from your past as this month begins, it wouldn't be a complete surprise, but at least you can make sense through the link to Pluto. Or is there a secret attraction that's set to build up? But just know from the 19th, your love and social situations can explode back into life as Venus moves into your sign and Mars into Taurus. And then that new moon at the heart of this month, if you have got friendships you really are enjoying, you're going to celebrate them to the full at the heart of this month. So, as far as romance is concerned, I think week three looks really positive. As far as business is concerned, I think it's a bit pivoted based on your unique circumstances. As far as finance is concerned, things you've been doing behind the scenes in the past could actually give you a return. Venus is about money. Pluto can also be about money, but particularly in the eighth house. That's quite encouraging. But as far as your physical energy is concerned, I think you could end the month just needing to withdraw a little bit on the back of that blue moon. But if that's the case and you need some space, take it. That's fine. Wishing you all the best, Cancer. Thank you so much again, and see you again soon.